The US and Israel step up attacks as the war with Iran engulfs the region.
It's like I can see at the end of the tunnel.
The first flight from Dubai to Hong Kong since the UAE closed its airspace is on its way back, giving stranded Hongkongers hope. And the chairman of mainland's top political advisory body vows unity to launch the 15th five-year plan. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Cheryl Yun. Israel launched new strikes against Iranian targets, including a group responsible for choosing the next supreme leader. U.S. President Donald Trump said he worries a new leader in Iran after the war could be just as troubling for Washington. Meanwhile, Iran claimed over 780 people were killed since the war began. Jamie Liu reports.
Explosions rocked Tehran as Iran's war with the U.S. and Israel entered a fifth day. Israel said its latest attack struck an Iranian nuclear underground compound, while also targeting launch sites, aerial defense systems, and other facilities. Israel also claimed it hit a building in the city of Qom belonging to Iran's Assembly of Experts, a body responsible for electing the next supreme leader. However, Iranian media reported that the compound was evacuated before the attack, and the 88 cleric assembly has been meeting virtually. Speaking alongside German Chancellor Friedrich Merz at the White House, Trump reiterated that he would like to see a more moderate leader emerge in Iran, but that most candidates the U.S. had in mind were killed in the strikes.
I guess the worst case would be we do this and then somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous person, right? That could happen. We don't want that to happen.
The U.S. president also hinted at a third wave of attacks on Iran. In a briefing, the U.S. Central Command said over 50,000 troops, 200 fighter jets, and 2 aircraft carriers are taking part in the operation, having struck nearly 2,000 Iranian targets, severely degrading Iran's air defenses and destroying hundreds of its ballistic missiles, launchers, and drones. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
Iran is stepping up retaliation across the Gulf, striking United States facilities in several countries, from the U.S. consulate in Dubai to the largest American air base in the Middle East in Qatar. The United Arab Emirates announced the opening of a safe air corridor to help evacuate stranded travelers. Bess Leung has more.
In Dubai, suspected Iranian drones slammed into the U.S. consulate overnight, triggering a loud blast and a fireball in the sky. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the parking lot took the strike, with most staff already evacuated before that, and no injuries were reported. The UAE military said Iran has fired some 180 missiles and launched over 800 drones at its territory since the counterstrikes began, with most intercepted. In Qatar, the defense ministry said one of 2 Iranian missiles targeted Al Udeid air base was shot down, while the other hit the base without causing casualties. Qatari authorities have arrested 10 people allegedly linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, seizing site coordinates and communications gear. They were accused of surveilling military facilities and receiving training on drones for sabotage. In Saudi Arabia, early drone attacks hit the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, with reports saying the local CIA station was struck, though it was unclear if the building was the intended target. While much of Mideast airspace remains closed amid missile barrages, the UAE has opened a safe air corridor with neighboring countries to help its citizens return home and to evacuate visitors. Since Sunday, more than 60 flights have moved 17,000 passengers out of the UAE, with the next phase eyeing 80 daily flights for 27,000 passengers. Meanwhile, Jordan has reopened its airspace after partial closure earlier. Bess Leung, Cable News.
Shares in Hong Kong and Asia extended their slide as investors brace for an energy shock triggered by the ongoing Middle East turmoil. The Hang Seng Index crashed below the 25,000 mark at one point, shedding a total of 1,381 points over the past 3 sessions. Bess Leung again reports.
The benchmark index at one stage sank more than 800 points to 24,958, a more than 6-month low, before trimming some losses to finish at 25,249, still down 518 points on the day, with turnover at around $364.3 billion. Heavy selling hit financials, with AIA the worst-performing blue chip, sliding nearly 5%, while HSBC at one point lost its $130 handle. New economy names also dragged the market lower. Alibaba retreated more than 3%, and Tencent briefly slipped back under the $500 level. Even oil and petrochemical counters, which had rallied hard for 2 straight days on spiking crude, turned south in the broad sell-off, with PetroChina giving up about 3%. Elsewhere in Asia, South Korea's Kospi led the road, plunging about 12% and triggering a 20-minute trading halt before closing with a record one-day points loss, while Japan's Nikkei slumped 3.6%, its steepest fall in nearly a year. Taiwan dropped more than 4%. Losses on the mainland were milder, with the Shanghai Composite off less than 1%. Bess Leung, Cable News.
Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz has nearly halted amid escalating attacks on vessels in the region. While Iran's Revolutionary Guard said they have complete control of the strait, the United States claimed to have destroyed 17 Iranian ships. U.S. President Donald Trump has pledged naval protection for ships passing through the strait to ensure free flow of global energy. The ongoing Middle East crisis has sent oil prices soaring as major freighters suspended runs at the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical maritime routes. The narrow waterway located between Oman and Iran carries roughly 20% of global oil and a significant share of liquefied natural gas trade. Recent reports indicate that traffic through the strait has plummeted by as much as 96% compared with pre-crisis levels, as vessels anchored or rerouted to avoid the area. The U.S. Central Command has stated that its forces destroyed 17 Iranian ships, wiping out Tehran's navy in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, and Gulf of Oman. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, however, asserts full strait control and claims its forces have targeted at least 10 tankers. It earlier declared the waterway closed and threatened to attack any passing vessel. U.S. President Donald Trump said the U.S. Navy stands ready to escort oil tankers through the strait if necessary to guarantee the free flow of energy to global markets. He has also directed U.S. International Development Finance Corporation to provide risk insurance and guarantees for maritime trade in the region. Acknowledging the recent spike in oil prices, Trump insisted they would fall rapidly once the conflict with Iran resolves.
So if we have a little high oil prices for a little while, but as soon as this ends, those prices are going to drop, I believe, lower than even before.
Hongkongers stranded in the Middle East are cautiously hopeful about returning home as an Emirates flight is flying from Dubai to Hong Kong, the first since the conflict disrupted air travel. Jimmy Liu talked to a resident scheduled for departure tomorrow morning.
Horse racing presenter Toto Wong was among the first batch of Hong Kong travelers to return home after the United Arab Emirates resumed limited flights. He said the check-in process took him about 20 minutes and went smoothly. Even though he could still hear air raid sirens and alerts the night before, he was in good spirits, hoping to meet everyone in Hong Kong sooner. According to flight information, he was on EK380, the first passenger plane flying from Dubai to Hong Kong since the conflict forced the UAE to close its airspace. Another Hong Konger, Shun, whose Cathay Pacific flight on March 9th was cancelled, booked an Emirates flight scheduled for tomorrow's small hours. Despite no guarantee it would depart, Shen remained cautiously hopeful.
It's like I can see light at the end of the tunnel. I will have to wait until check-in time and until my flight hasn't been cancelled before I can reach the check-in counter. Of course, I hope to get in and successfully obtain my boarding pass.
On social media, a user wrote in a post suggesting a detour through neighboring countries such as Oman to try to reach Hong Kong. In the comments, some argued that this may not be practical and could be risky. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
In other news, the nation's top political advisory body, the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, kicked off its annual session in Beijing. Jamie Liu reports.
The fourth session of the 14th CPPCC National Committee opened at the Great Hall of the People, attended by President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang. CPPCC National Committee Chairman Wang Huning delivered a work report summarizing the advisor's duties in the past year. He said they discussed ways to deepen economic reforms and link up different routes adopted in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. Wang urged the political advisors to focus on Beijing's primary mission this year, that is, the 15th five-year plan of national development. He said they should build a broad support and reflect public opinion truthfully and objectively across several key areas of development. The CPPCC meeting, which is part of Beijing's annual political event dubbed Two Sessions, will run until next Wednesday. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
Beijing said it is ready to work with Washington toward peaceful coexistence and win-win cooperation, while firmly upholding its core principles and red lines. Lo Qingjian, spokesperson for the fourth session of the 14th National People's Congress, told a press conference that as major countries, China and the United States should respect each other, pursue peaceful coexistence, and seek mutually beneficial cooperation. He added that China is willing to strengthen communications at all levels, but stressed that the country will, as always, resolutely safeguard its sovereignty, security, and development interests in line with its own principles and red lines. Addressing the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, Lo expressed deep concern over the situation involving Iran. He called for an immediate halt to military operations against the country to prevent further escalation of tensions, stressing that no country has the right to dominate international affairs. The fourth session of the 14th NPC opens Thursday morning and is scheduled to conclude on the afternoon of March 12th. The 8-day session features 11 agenda items. A 66-year-old man from Yuen Long, who was reported missing since leaving home last Saturday, was found dead in a construction site sewage canal. Fire services responded to the scene around 11 a.m. after reports of a man trapped in a 3-meter-deep sewage canal at a Tan Yan San Chun Road construction site. The man was pronounced dead on the scene after the disaster response and rescue team pulled him out. Police noted that the man was not a construction worker and is investigating how he entered the site. The victim left his home in Tong Yan San Chun last Saturday. His family reported him missing after losing contact with him on the same day. The High Court wrapped up arguments today in the Environmental Protection Department's appeal over the Fanling Golf Course judicial review, with the judge to deliver a verdict within 9 months. Club President Lawrence Kwok and APD Senior Counsel Rimsky Yun arrived at court. The Civil Engineering and Development Department, one of the interested parties, argued it is technically possible to save all 160-plus trees on site. They accused the Court of First Instance judge of narrowing advisory council concerns to mere tree height and girth. However, the club's senior counsel Benjamin Yu fired back, noting the course boasts trees of special value. He slammed the EPD for ignoring public and council pleas, stressing that any development, even partial with replanting, would obliterate this historic landmark. Hong Kong's retail sales value rose 5.5% year-on-year in January, beating market expectations. The growth slowed slightly from December's stronger pace, but still beat market expectations of a 4.2% increase, driven by sustained economic expansion and rising visitor numbers. A government spokesperson highlighted that the positive economic trend and ongoing increase in inbound tourists should continue to boost local consumption and support the retail sector's outlook. Meanwhile, Hong Kong Retail Management Association Chairman Annie Yao Tse also forecast encouraging retail performance next month, given that the Lunar New Year holidays fell in February this year. On to the weather now, mainly cloudy, cool with a few rain patches tonight and tomorrow morning. The minimum temperature will be about 16 degrees. Sunny intervals during the day with a maximum temperature of around 21 degrees. That's our news tonight. I'm Cheryl Yun. Thanks for watching and good night.